Hello people, welcome to my channel and welcome to this video about a support network. The question was asked recently by a client, how do I build a support network and what is that? What actually is a support network? So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the few parts that I know of that I believe are a part of our support network and how to build that, how to find one. And so there's a few parts, as I just mentioned, there's a few parts in a support network. There's the professional support, there's the family support, there's the friend support. And then there's often what I call the cheerleader support is another part. So what I mean by all that is their cheerleader support are people who are going to like you no matter what you do. They're going to be proud of you. They're going to be happy with you. They're going to encourage you. It doesn't matter if they think what you're doing is right or wrong, or if they want you to try something specific. They don't care what you do. They're just going to be there to encourage you, to help you feel good about what you're doing. And those are important. Um, it's good to have somebody who's in your corner no matter what. And they can be friends, they can be family, they can be nearly anybody who really does trust you and wants to support you. This is the really the only position a spouse should play in a support network. A spouse should not be a teacher or an accountability partner or a helper or any of those kinds of things. A spouse really the job a spouse has one job, and that is to help their partner feel loved and valued. So if you're feeling loved and valued, you will love and value your partner. And if your partner is feeling loved and valued, they will value you. So that's really the only role a spouse should play in a support network. However, a spouse isn't the only person who can play that role. There are other people who can play that role. I have a couple of friends who love what I do, no matter what it is, um, and that's important. It's not the most important role, but it is one of the most important roles. Another role is family. Now, it's also important to have family as part of your support network. And the often misunderstood part of this, or the often misunderstood idea related to the support from family, is that um, all family should always be supportive, and that's just not true. By the very fact that we don't choose our family, and by the very fact that our family sometimes has different values than we have, sometimes wants different things than we want, and sometimes um, believes different things than we believe. We don't get to choose them, and therefore they might believe or want or value different things than we do. And if that's the case, then they're not going to necessarily support us in everything that we do or in some of the things that we do. And although family is critical, family is very, very important, all family should not be important all the time. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they rely on their family, all of their family, all the time. And if some part of their family doesn't support them, then that's the thing that they focus on. That's the person or people that they focus on, is why does that person not want to support them as part of their family or those people? And although family is important, it's also important to understand which parts of your family, which members of your family are supportive and which ones are not, and focus on the ones that are. Um, Most people have some family who will support them, and usually, if you don't have family support you, any family who supports you, there's two big reasons for that. One, you have a very small family, and the few people that you trust in your family don't support you. And two is somebody from your family doesn't support you. You have focused on that for many years, And by focusing on the people who don't support you, you have pushed away and alienated the people who would have or might have supported you. And that's the part that I wanted to talk about a little bit for a moment is when you have family that doesn't support you and you focus on getting them back, getting their support back to you, or getting their support, you can often alienate the family who does support you. Let me give you an example. I have a brother and a sister, and when I focused on getting my brother's support for an idea he didn't necessarily agree with, he didn't disagree, but he didn't agree with it. When I focused on getting his support for that idea, that wasn't a part of his values, anyways, it was mine. Um, I caused some strife between him and my sister, who loves us both, didn't like the strife between him and I, saw that I had caused the strife, and therefore I had alienated her because all she wanted to do was heal that wound between my brother and I. And because I refused, because I wanted his support, and until he gave me that support, I wasn't willing to heal the wound. Because I refused to heal the wound, she then had to distance herself from me or decided to distance herself from me. So then I lost support of the rest of my family as well because I wouldn't accept that some of my family wouldn't support me. Now, if instead I would have simply allowed my brother to not support me for those things he disagrees with and let him have his choices and his values and instead rely on those family members who do support me, I would have had still plenty of family support. And once I did come to that place, once I did get to that mindset, that decision where I would allow individual family members to support me or not on the different things that I do or the different values that I have as they choose, I suddenly regained the support of all of my family members, just not all the time. My brother supports me on certain things that I believe in, and my sister supports me on other things that I believe in, and my mom and my dad and my ex-wife and my kids, like each of them support me on different things, but not all of them support me on all the things. And therefore, I do have some family support for nearly everything I do. And it's important to not try and keep everybody happy all of the time, because by doing so, we often push away those who would have liked us or would have supported what we were doing because they simply don't want to be involved in the conflict. It wasn't about them in the first place. So family support is important, and that's how you can gain family support or regain or repair family support is by letting the family members who support you do so without requiring the ones who don't to also support you. Accept the support from those who give it and don't demand it from those who don't. Focus on the parts you're getting what you want. Focus on the members of the family who are giving you what you want and leave the others to their own devices, to their own lives, to their own happiness, because they can then be happy and so can you. And in fact, if you are able to do that, when you're able to do that, those family members who don't support you on these things will find something else they do support you on. And you'll find something in common with just about everybody. And that's how you're able to get family support on most of the things that you want or do or believe in your life. It's the same thing with friends. With friends, however, there's a big difference in that we get to choose our friendships. And yet we often treat our friends as if we don't get to choose them or they don't get to choose us. It's especially true in the friendships that we've had for many years or since childhood. If we've had a friend for a long, long time and they disagree with something, we can often take offense to that or be hurt by that, maybe even be angry. And if that's the case, then we can offend them and and perhaps even push them away. And again, in the same cases with the family members, let them support the things that they want to support and let them not support the things that they don't want to support. That's okay. That's what individualism is all about. That's what each of us being our own person is all about. Some things we agree with and some things we don't. As a matter of fact, just because the things that we used to agree with as a friend does not mean that we are, Just because those things have changed, the things that we used to agree with, we don't agree with anymore, does not mean that friendship has to dissolve. It just means that we find different things to agree with. We find different things in common, and sometimes friendships don't have anything in common, and that's okay. There were times in my life when I didn't talk to my best friend of 25 years, 25 or 30 years. There were times in my life when I didn't talk to him for 4 or 5 years at a time, because the things we used to have in common, we no longer did. And then eventually we found other things that we had in common, and we built the friendships on those things. And we shared the memories from those things we used to have in common. We shared the memories and the joys and the caring and the emotions about those things, but we didn't keep the we didn't hold on to trying to make something that didn't exist, trying to hold on to something that no longer existed. And that's important. I've had friendship where we tried to do that, and those aren't my friends anymore. Those friendships have gone the way of the dodo bird. They just don't exist anymore. Um, and I regret that. Yet, I also understand that people move on. People's values change, and therefore, I, although I miss their friendship, I don't miss trying to keep their friendship when it was just time to let it go. So friends are much the same way as family in that you get to um, choose what they support you in, and if you allow them, they'll support you in different things, and you'll have support for the different kinds of things that you want. Friends and family are important to have. The difference with friends, though, is that we don't always know how to make friends. And the important part of a support network is to know how to make friends, is to know how to relate to people. And one of the biggest conflicts I see in the guys that I help is that they find things to dislike about somebody much easier than they find things to like about somebody. Or they find things to like really, really quickly. And they build a strong friendship and they're their best friend for life. And then 3 weeks later or 3 months later, there's something they disagree with strongly. So they have to lose that friendship, or they decide they have to lose that friendship. And as I was talking to a moment ago, you don't have to lose those friendships just because there are things you disagree with. On those things you disagree with, don't relate, don't discuss, don't share. If you don't want to lose your friendships, all you have to do is share the moments that you enjoy, share the beliefs, the values, the things that you do that are in common, and leave the rest alone. I have friends I share my faith with. I have friends I share my hobbies with. I have friends I share my dreams with. I have friends I share my values with. And they're different friends. And as I make new friends, I tell them about myself. I open up about myself. I'm vulnerable to some degree about what I dream about, what I desire, what I like, what my values are. And I find friends all over the place that like to share those things. And sometimes friends eventually change and don't want to share those things anymore. And that's okay too. If you can learn how to make friends, then when friends go away or fade out, then it doesn't hurt so much. You're not relying on that one person who's been your friend since kindergarten. And when you know you can make another friend. And if you want to hold on to a friendship, let it evolve. Let the things that you care about change. Let the things that you have in common change as you both grow and evolve and become better and new people. The things that you enjoy about each other might change. The things that you used to enjoy about each other, you might not anymore. And that's okay too. That's what growth looks like. And if you want to hold on to the friendship, find new things to have in common. I can find something in common with nearly everybody. Therefore, if there's a friendship I want to hold on to, I simply find something new out that I have in common with that person. And when I do that, I get to keep those friendships that I didn't know could evolve. That's what happened with my best friend. For years at a time, we didn't talk because the things we used to have in common, we didn't. And then I let go of this idea of these things that we used to have in common, and we found new things to have in common. And now we still hang out, we still talk, we talk again every week at least, often multiple times per week. So you can make friends by finding things in common and letting go of the things you don't have in common. If somebody upsets you, don't interact in those ways. Don't interact about that subject. Don't talk about that thing. If a friend betrays your trust in some way, don't trust them with those things. I had a friend who betrayed my trust with my girlfriend. He slept with my girlfriend. And for years I couldn't get over that. And then eventually I thought, wait a minute, there's so many other things him and I have in common. I don't have to trust him with my girlfriends. I don't even have to introduce him. Hell, I don't even have to tell him I have a girlfriend. We can still hang out about all these other things, and there are still things him and I talk about. His values have changed in a big way, and so have mine in a very big way. And there are certain subjects we don't talk about. There are certain reasons we don't talk anymore at all, but there are some things we do talk about. I recently went to a concert with him because that's something that we still share that we did years ago. Yet there's many things that we don't do together. There are many discussions that we don't have together. I don't have to lose that friendship. And yet, if he decides to not talk to me anymore, that's his choice too. But I'm not going to make that choice because I can find things we have in common. Friendships are one of the hardest things people have to make and one of the easiest things to keep if you know how. Um, this is a critical part of any support group is to have friends. So I can't overstate that. And the last part of a support network is professional support. Now, by professional support, I mean anything as basic as your family doctor. And if you don't have a family doctor, maybe go get one. If you're transient, like I have been for much of my life, maybe you don't have a family doctor because you haven't lived in one town long enough or one place long enough. So just go to a local clinic and request that they be your doctor for a while. And maybe you are, and maybe you aren't. Maybe you go there consistently, maybe you don't, but you should have a place to go, someone you can build some trust with. And you should see your doctor on a regular basis. I would say every 6 months, every year at the latest, at the longest. But you should see your doctor quite frequently in order to build that relationship with them so they have a history of who you are. Even if you just make an appointment to go in and say, hey, doc, I'm doing okay. I just wanted to check up. Here's this lump I have on the end of my nose. It's probably a pimple, but whatever. You don't have to have a problem to bring up. Just connect with your doctor to make sure that they have a history for you, so that when something does come up, they can say, "Oh yeah, I remember you. Let's do this. Let's try that." And another part of your professional support network, the most basic part is a doctor, of course. And then from there, you can expand based on what it is you want, what it is you're looking for, what kind of help you need. There are plenty of options available, some of them covered under different benefits programs, some of them as part of free healthcare, and some of them are paid services. Anything from a psychiatrist, which is another version of a doctor, a specialist doctor, to other specialist doctors, to therapists and counselors, and in my case, a life coach. That's what I do, and I've had a life coach of my own for 2 years now, and that's been one of the best decisions I've ever had. They've been a perfect support for me in a way that many other professionals haven't been. My best friend has a therapist he's had for years, and he just loves his therapist. Um, so each person has their own definition of what a support group looks like in a professional sense, what kind of services they want to hire, what kind of things they want to get help with. And there are services available no matter what options you have to you, whether you can afford help or whether you need free help or whether you um, want a life coach or a therapist or a doctor or a specialist of some case. There are many ways to find professional help. And sometimes all we need is somebody to talk to so that we can figure out what our options are. Um, that's what I like about having a life coach or a doctor, is because they're general practitioners who can help us find what other options we want to look at. A doctor can refer you to other doctors and therapists. A life coach can help you figure out what kind of support you're looking for if you don't know. So there's different ways to find support, and it's important to have support. So to recap, there are a few kinds of support. There is the cheerleader style support, who's always in your corner no matter what. They think what you're doing is wonderful. There is the family, which sometimes your family will like what you're doing or thinking or believing, and sometimes they won't. So it's important to allow your family to choose. Since you can't choose your family, you're born into them or married into them. You can't choose your family. It's important to allow them to support you in the ways they feel comfortable, and allow them to not support you in ways that they don't want. Because that way you can keep your relationships with your family close. There are friendship support groups and or supports. Friendships are much like family in that you can allow them to support you in different ways and have different friends for different purposes. And you can choose friends. You can, if you're not happy with the support you have from the friendships you have now, you can find new friends. You can develop different ways to have support from those friends, and you can meet new people and make new friends. And then there's professional support, which you can, whether there's a range from anywhere from paid to free, and many kinds of options within there, many kinds of professionals you can ask for help from. I'm one of them. I'm a life coach. That's what I do, and I love to help people, support people through what the choices they make in their life. My goal is to help you discover what you want, and go get that, whatever, and figure out what's in the way of you getting what you want, and help you to remove those blocks, whatever's in the way. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is accountability partners. A lot of people have triggers around accountability. I'm one of them. I had a lot of triggers around accountability. I only recently worked through my triggers around accountability. And it's important to understand what accountability means to you. Accountability means different things to different people. So when you're looking for an accountability partner, make sure you find one that matches what you're looking for. For me, I'm looking for an accountability partner that supports me and listens to what I say, and doesn't try and give me advice or change what I'm doing. They simply are the person I describe my intentions to, and essentially they're like my journal. I send them a message, or I talk to them on the phone or on a video call, and I tell them what my intentions are. I tell them what I have done and what I have not done, and what blocks might be in the way. I don't ask them for help, and I don't want an accountability partner who offers help. That's a different relationship for me. Now, some people do want an accountability partner who helps them figure out the solutions. Some people do want an accountability partner who gives them advice and suggestions. It's important to understand when you're looking for an accountability partner that you know what it is that you're asking for, and that you make those boundaries clear when you start the accountability relationship. And an accountability partner can be key in achieving the goals that we have, going the directions that we want, and getting what we want out of our lives. So those are the different forms of support we can get, and that's how you can build a support network. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment, or send me an email, or send me a message. I'm Coach Andy, and I'm here to help. So let me know what I can do for you. Thanks a lot.